Welcome to The Roofer Show with your host, Dave Sullivan. You found the podcast that helps roofing contractors grow their businesses, make more money, and have more free time.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Roofer Show podcast, the place to be if you want to grow a more profitable roofing business. I am your host, Dave Sullivan. We have got a whole crew today, and I'm going to introduce you in a second, but we're going to talk about marketing because this is a huge issue right now. Particularly, a lot of our contractors are slowing down. So this is going to be a great show. With us, we've got John DeLaurier, Savannah, Georgia, and we've got Emily May, who is one of our Mastermind Group contractors, and she is a awesome roofing contractor out of Lufkin, Texas. And then we've got our main guest, we're going to get into this, is Crystal Williams with Lemon Seed Marketing out of Texas also. How's everybody doing?
Doing great, Dave.
Great. Doing good.
All good. So far, so good. All right. Well, John, I always start off with you. What's going on? What's the latest in your business?
Oh, a lot of fun things this past couple of weeks. We can get into that in another whole episode. I'm excited about the branding today, though, because we always talk about branding, and I really respect what Emily's done in her business, and am definitely excited to hear what Crystal has done and worked with Emily on the marketing Eminem roofing. I just think a lot of people ask these kind of questions a lot. They're in the Facebook groups on roofing. You know, there are roof cons going on right now, and our ProLine teams down there. I mean, everyone's asking about marketing. What's the best way to market? And I'm excited to hear how Eminem is doing, what the plan was, what the strategy is, and moving forward, you know, how to acquire customers in an efficient way.
Well, we're going to get answers to every one of those questions today because we've got with Crystal, she specializes with contractors. We'll get into that in just a minute. But Emily May, what's going on? Tell us about your business, what's happening, and a little about yourself, and then how you reached out to Crystal for marketing help.
Yes, I'm excited to be here. Thank y'all for having me. I know I get to chat with y'all in the mastermind, but I'm excited to be here. I'm actually was a nurse and then had a wild hair and decided I wanted to buy a roofing company a couple years ago. So that's been an interesting journey for me. And then while you're working on operations and logistics and all the just things that come with business ownership, marketing was an interesting piece that I felt like was not my expertise. So that was something that was important to me, is to bring Crystal on board. She is a master in the field. She understands branding and marketing. And so for me, that's taken my business to the next level. Just brand recognition in general has been amazing. So just to touch base, and she has lots of ideas. And again, we go with a disruptive plan. Sometimes we throw out some crazy ideas and just really something to catch the attention of the audience that we're trying to go after. So for me in the residential and commercial world, it's been a fantastic move to invest in our company, a marketing professional, and not try to do it ourselves, because I think a lot of contractors do. They make a logo and they try to keep it basic. And I think there's so much more to marketing, as I'm sure Crystal will discuss, just than just a logo and basic colors and things like that. So
I'm sure we will. But that's interesting, coming from nursing, just jumping into roofing. There, you know, why not? It's such an easy business to get into, and you know, there's nothing to it. So, you know, let's touch on this Mastermind Group. We might as well give a plug for the group here, John. Tell us a little about that, and well, what are you getting out of it? And give us a little story on that.
So
I think I reached it. Oh,
sorry. Go ahead. You said John or Emily?
I didn't say, but I was, you know, but go ahead, Emily. Let's start with you.
I was just going to say, I think I reached out because, again, I think educating yourself, especially from someone in my position who did not know roofing, it was important for me to surround myself with people that were far smarter, have been there, done that. So for me, it's an opportunity weekly to bounce ideas off of one another, figure out what are people in the industry doing, even if it's not in my own neighborhood. I think that a lot of it applies to us across the board. So really just to get on a group, and sometimes we vent, sometimes we collaborate. Sometimes we laugh together. Sometimes y'all put me in my place, and that's okay. Or you think I'm crazy with my ideas. But I think it's just a great opportunity. And I tell everyone who reaches out to me about getting into the roofing industry, you got to be around like-minded people, or you'll fail, because a lot of people that are really close, your competitors, will not help you. They will not reach out to you. So to me, surround yourself with people that are better, that are doing it better than you. So for me, it's a great opportunity weekly to collaborate and then again, be around people that are better.
Well, we love having you in the group. And John, why don't you tell us a little about that and why we started it? You and I got together and said, hey, let's, what we really need is to get some contractors together in a mastermind group.
Well, I think for me, and I think you too, Dave, we both really thrive on seeing people not make the same mistakes that we made. Yep. And just grow the business in a healthy way. I think the meaningful conversations and the relationships that we've built is really special. And I think about, again, RoofCon and the other conferences are good to go to if you're intentional about them. But with a small group of people, we try to limit it to 10 or 12 people every week, you're going to get meaningful change in your business. And like, it's a hard business. This is any small business is hard. So just being able to, like Emily said, just vent or collaborate with an idea, or if you can fix one thing that week or hear something that week that you're like, oh, I should do that. And then you do it. It's meaningful because I think it really increases your chance of survival and thriving in that business, but also just like makes your life better because you're not, for years, I didn't talk to anybody else in the roofing space because you're all competing contractors. So you are not going to try to tell the secrets. But I'm excited for Cameron because he is at RoofCon right now, and he's going to do the same kind of thing where he's going to be surrounding himself with other like-minded contractors the same way we do every week in our masterminds. I
love it. Couldn't agree more. Well, let's get into some marketing. Let's find out how we can get a strategy, get some more leads. And it's what we all need. So, Crystal, tell us a little about yourself, about your agency, and what's going on.
Sure. Well, so first of all, I actually went after Emily. My family owns a heating and air conditioning and plumbing business in East Texas. And so I was well-versed in home services as far as, KPIs, how the operation side worked, and how marketing worked, just letting us be the ones that homeowners were choosing. And so I knew that Emily was familiar enough with my family's brand to know that I hoped I had built up some legitimacy and some authority. And so I just called her one day and was like, hey, I have all these roofing clients that are wanting to talk to me, but I really want somebody that'll let me inside their business. Like I got to work inside the HVAC and plumbing side of the business. Will you just teach me more and more and more about roofing? And in return, I will do graphic design and give you strategy. I just need a little bit more collaboration. And she was like, let's do it. So we just started, I'll have to ask questions. I still have to ask questions, but the more that I've gotten in tune with how things work, because there is slight differences. That's why I think it's so important that when you trust a marketing partner, they have experience in your industry so they can provide the creativity. I'm a creative agency, so we're the branding side, we're the messaging side, we're the core value and customer acquisition side of things. So I'm not a digital agency, right? So I'm about building your brand. And so, but to do that effectively, you have to put out the right message. And so Emily shared with me the good, the bad, the ugly, okay, this is a wild idea, or hey, this is what this other contractor is doing. How can we spin it? And it's really been a great partnership. Definitely not a vendor to customer partnership. It's a pretty good partnership where we just kind of can feed off of each other, and it helps me, and hopefully it's helped her. You definitely know who Rufus is where we live. That's one thing that you do know is her armadillo character, and so we had such a good time building him, creating him. And I do have to brag on Emily another time. And I know this is not just, but I have so many contractors in other verticals that they just get in their own way. So many times they come to Lemon Seed, which is the name of my agency, for support, but then they don't want any of the ideas, or they don't want to be risky, or they don't want to be creative. They just we just want leads. And I'm like, man, this is just not how it really works. There's so much power. So Emily is very much like, whatever y'all say, let's go. And then we pivot. So she's like, okay, I didn't really like this, but it's not from what she thinks is going to happen. It's like data-driven decisions. And there's just a lot of power when you can make marketing decisions based off true data and not your gut.
Well, you're right about most contractors. I don't want to hear all that. I just want
Guilty.
leads. Okay.
Guilty. Yeah.
Well, it's
John,
very normal.
yeah, John, you went through. You've gone through it all, and we talk about.
I make all the
branding
mistakes. I just keep doing it. It's fun.
Hey, I did it for 30 years, man. I screw. We wouldn't believe all the screw ups I made. So, yeah. What about you? You've got some. And we're touching on Rufus. We'll get into that in a second because that's a great mascot, and I want to talk about mascots in a second. But John, what about you? You got always got some stories to tell.
Well, I mean, I've definitely gotten in my own way a lot. I've been way better the past couple of years about not micromanaging and delegating and really letting people do what they're good at. So I work with Samantha, and she's amazing. She's passionate, just like you, Crystal. She's very good at what she does. And it comes down to this question in the onboarding process where you're like, well, we're going to schedule all these posts and create all this video content and execute these things that we're going to do every week. And it's like, there's this one thing, like, do you want us to get approval from you every week? And I was like, nope. I want you to do it. Just do it. She like the sigh of relief that she had, because every other home service, she has, like, one of my friends owns a high-end cabinet shop, and he wants to see everything. And he's like, no, we did those cabinets last week. They're going to see it again. I'm like, no. I trust my marketing person that they know the algorithms. It doesn't even matter. Like, customers don't care as much as you do. Just let the professional do. Whoever you partner with, this is the biggest thing. Whoever you partner with, if you're a home service person, just trust your marketing person. Just let them do their thing. Like, let them, like, have a plan together, be proactive, but then that's way more effective. We've done so many things and actually grown the brand to a level that we're seeing actual sales because I just let them do what they're good at. That's my 2 cents on, and I've been really good about it. She loves working with me because nobody else. I'm like, just no. Let's have a plan. Let's execute the plan. But I trust you with whatever is executed in the world.
Well, I see this all the time as well. So some people too, like, it doesn't even come down to the price of things. It's more about the intentionality and the strategy behind the plan. And again, like, if you're one of those vendors or contractors that kind of beats up a vendor over a $50 or $150 ad spend, odds are you're way too much in the weeds. Well, so Lemon Seed was literally born because my family's heating and air conditioning and plumbing company. My brother called me because I decided I was not going to live in the home service industry. I'd grown up in it, and I was like, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to go blaze my own path. And so my brother called me in 2014. He said, hey, I'm getting ready to acquire another company just north of us. And I don't want to deal with the marketing. I don't want to deal with our vendors, our co-op, all these things. Like, I need you to come on board. So I came on board and just managed all of the vendors. And that's how Lemon Seed was born, because listen, as a contractor, when you're working on your business, not in your business, right? But when you're working on your business, marketing is just a slice of the pie. And so you really have to have somebody that's just driving everything and not trying to be everything. And so Lemon Seed is the driver. So like Emily, when we sit down and talk through Eminem's strategy, we're like, okay, what are we going to do with the digital company? What are we going to do with the direct mail company? What are we doing on social media? Because it takes all of those little pieces of the puzzle to make the whole puzzle. And, it's a matter of not micromanaging every single step, and also not making decisions based on an outlier. So what if so many contractors live in the what if, like, what if I do this and someone calls, so Emily and I are doing like a gift with purchase kind of idea going into the fall. So buy one of our, new roof, depending on, she has some perimeters around it, and get this gift, get this item. And I can tell you right now, I have so many contractors that would be like, well, what if they call and what if they don't want? Okay. You just have to make a decision, right? Just know what you're going to say and do it. And it's just more about the intentionality and the strategy around it for sure. And trust, if you don't trust them to do what you're meant to do, I mean, we have a huge onboarding process where I really get to know your business so that you can trust me to make decisions for your business.
Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, you've got to ask the right questions. You've got to understand it. There's so much more involved. And I love what you're talking about there. Emily, how did this go? So tell us about your experience.
Yeah, I was just going to follow up and say, like, we as contractors, owners, we don't want a customer coming out and telling us where to put the nail in the shingle or where to put, we don't want them micromanaging us. So we have to let go of a little control too. So again, I say, if you are not good at marketing, that would be one thing you should definitely reach out to. And then two, I think that we had a real honest conversation. I think this is also important. When we started, Crystal and I started, it takes a little while, right? There's some momentum that you have to get going. But once that momentum gets going, you have to have an honest conversation about operationally as an owner, are you prepared and are you ready to handle the leads, close the deals, because you definitely don't want to be spending money and then not be able to handle and manage those leads or handle the volume that's going to come. So I do think that also as an owner is a really important, I don't think if you're going to start a business tomorrow, you go run out and, hire the marketer first. Like, I think it's definitely a partnership and a team, but you have to have an honest conversation, because I do think we had that conversation and there was a little pause while we were building strategy and building a plan for me to operationally get prepared, because the funnel, they are going to generate leads. It may not come directly from a billboard or from a radio ad, but just the brand and market awareness for me. I see people in the community and they think I'm the armadillo lady. I hear people, I had someone ask me at a tournament this weekend, hey, can you bring Rufus to our kid's birthday party? Because he saw him at a community event and he fell in love with him. And I'm like, sure, if you want Rufus to come to your birthday, we will make it happen. But I just think that, so to me, I don't think someone, and I know Crystal can touch on this too, but for me, it was, you have to understand marketing, and I did not. And so they had to really spend some time educating me on the fact that, if you put up a billboard, people are always going to ask, well, what's your ROI on that billboard? Well, no one's going to drive by a billboard and pull over on the side of the road and say, you know what, I needed a roof and I need to jot down all of this information and write down they put on there that they do shingle repairs. And that's exactly what I needed today. No, it's just about being in your face all the time, different sources, so that when they do need you, you're front of mind. So for me, that was really important. And so I really got on board with that idea. And so people will ask me all the time about ROI, my husband specifically, on a billboard, and you don't have a phone number on a billboard. And I'm like, no one pulls over on the side of the road and scans a QR code or writes down a phone number. It's okay. So just trust the process for sure.
Well, and just because things aren't directionally measurable doesn't mean that they're not performing. And so that's another thing that you really have to keep in mind. Like, we all want to run to the bottom of the funnel, of the sales funnel, where clients are ready to buy right now. So we want to have the PPC, the paid ads, the PPC, the Google local service ads. We want all the SEO that makes us show up. But statistically, over and over and over again, you will outperform your competitors if you also have a brand layer on top of those paid ads. So if no one's ever heard of you before, then when they go to search roof repair near me and your competitor shows up or you show up, if they know you more because they've seen you more, you will outperform them. They also don't tend to shop you as much when you build those relationships. It's just you are the go-to guy. And it's really, Emily's right. Like, also, marketing is not a Band-Aid for bad operations. So like, literally, I was asking Emily questions like, what's your average ticket? What's your booking rate? When people call in, what's your booking rate? Tell me about your sales process. Tell me about your follow-up process, because all of that affects marketing, because it will look like marketing's not performing when all of a sudden she's like, hey, I have no leads. And I'll go look and I'm like, well, the phone's ringing. And then we have to backpedal into it. So I like to be very upfront. Like, if your CSR can't just book the call, like, and one of my biggest pet peeves is if I call your business right now and say, hey, my husband and I were talking, it looks like we need a new roof. We're getting ready to sell in the next year or two, whatever. And your girl has to say, well, now let me call Jimmy. He's the one that does the scheduling. Let me see when he can get out there and I'll call you back. you've already lost my business, right? We have to be operationally prepared to book the lead. You paid money to get the lead in some form or fashion. If you have wrapped trucks, if you have a website, you paid for every lead that comes through. So get it booked, right? Like just so many operational things will negatively impact marketing, and you will want to blame marketing when it's really an operational issue. And so I do ask a lot of questions. I get all in your business because the more I can understand, because also I wouldn't make certain recommendations either. So like on the HVAC side of things, I'll tell people, we're going to send a tune-up offer, right? Which is the basic offer just to get us in the door, provide a tune-up service. If your technician can't actually get them on your maintenance plan or anything like that, then what happens is it was a wasted lead. You went out there for free. Actually, you lost money. So same thing on the roofing side. If you're going to give free estimates, but your sales guys suck at actually getting it booked and sold, or at least in some sort of follow-up channel, then you wasted your money running a free anything, right? So, you're betting on these free offers. And so you're betting on your people. So you really need to invest in your people to get them prepared so that marketing will perform better.
Yeah, Emily, that's such a great point that you brought up, that you've got to be, before you hire a marketing company, you better be able to handle these leads, and you better have your process, your sales process, your onboarding process dialed in. And that's what John and I talk about. That's what our show's all about, is having that balance. Not only do you have to be able to take the leads in, you can sell them, but you also have to be able to install the work, install it with quality and so forth. And this is, we get so many companies that they don't answer their phone. They just roll over in a voicemail. And like you said, you're talking speed to lead.
Die.
It happens all the time.
Yeah,
and that's one of the biggest complaint that homeowners have is when they're looking for home services, that contractors don't answer their phone, and they're just going to go on to the next person. I mean, it's so fast now. You have to be prepared, and you have to be prepared to handle these leads, because once you turn the faucet on, if you can't not only schedule them but also schedule them within a time where I see contractors, oh yeah, we'll get out there in 6 weeks. That's crazy. What do you need leads for? If you've got that much business, you got to be able to handle that first. John, add on to that, because that's what we always talk about, is the sales process.
This is definitely in our wheelhouse for what we talk about a lot is you got to be able to answer your phone. I mean, here's a good example. We just sold a roof about 10 minutes ago, a $30,000 roof. Just got the notification, ProLine. Great. This person was a referral. They reached out to us after hours last night. They had an estimate at 239 and they signed the contract at 243. Like, if you can't do that, I don't know. Like, you shouldn't be thinking about marketing. Like, we should be doing that. Like, that should be a normal thing. Like, you should be able to execute and give the customer what they want in a really, really accurate way. Unbelievable communication from the very beginning. That just happened. $30,000 roof. They want it. You better be able to react. And if it's a website form or a phone call or social media, message, you better be able to react. If you don't have that in place, it's not really worth investing a lot into marketing if you can't do that. Like it's, in your sleep. That's what we try to do first. But I love what Emily said about taking the pause, understanding, like building it. Like, that's really, really important. And Crystal, your onboarding process is really good. Like, the way you're describing it, marketing people, whatever vendor, whatever your profession is, like, you have to understand that business is, a lot of different things. It's not just the marketing piece. It's not just the sales. It's not just the production. You need to, whoever you partner with, whatever part of your business, they need to understand that there are other aspects of your business that affect that part of it. And I really like the way that you're describing your onboarding, because I think it's really important. I think if you hire somebody else that doesn't think about that, you won't see results.
Yeah, I mean, you don't go to the doctor and as soon as you sit down in the examination room, then they're like, all right, here's cholesterol medicine, right? They actually go through, like, let's talk about this. Let's do some blood work. Let's do some measurements, which nobody loves it, right? You don't love it when you go to the doctor, and you don't love it now. And to Emily's point, you have to be pretty like open about your business, which is hard for some people. But you have to be pretty honest with yourself and with the vendor. Like, listen, we're here to help you grow as well. So if we can understand the holes and the where you might be lacking, it just helps us curate a plan that's specific. Every marketing strategy is very different. Even though I've done roofing now, we've had a successful plan. You know, even if I were to onboard a new roofing company soon, I would literally start all the way over. Like, tell me about because everybody's marketing strategy needs to be curated. That's why what works for you in Atlanta may not work in Lufkin, Texas, may not work in Detroit, Michigan, right? It's very, very different. And, you know, you're going to grow your business three ways, right? Operationally, so operational excellence, how you can make the most of every single lead. Pricing, are you priced competitively? Are you watching your pricing? Are you navigating those challenges of pricing? And then marketing. Those are the three ways that you grow a business every single year, those three strategies. And so I'm only one piece. So when one of those legs gets wobbly, then the stool's wobbly, right? That three-legged stool analogy that people use is, yeah. So, I mean, you just start wobbling and something's got to give. And so a lot of times I watch people all the time. They don't have enough margin built in to their pricing, or they're just operationally unsound, or their marketing. They're either wildly out of control, right? Like they're just spending with no real way to track it or measure it, or just somebody told them to do it. Or they're drastically underspending with a higher expectation of what it should do to perform. And it really will get you off kilter for sure.
Yeah, we see so many companies. I mean, you don't have a lead problem, you've got an organizational problem. And being able to handle these and convert, you can have all these leads, but if you can't convert them into sales because you're not on top of it, you know, you got a problem. And I love your three-legged stool analogy. You know, we use that in every show. You know, you've got to sell work, you've got to do work, and you've got to keep score.
Yeah.
And, you know, nothing happens until somebody sells something, and you can't sell anything until you have a lead. But if you can't handle those leads and convert them into sales, you know, what's the point? Well, let's talk about some of this. Yeah, exactly. Let's talk about some of the, you know, those problems that you might see that hold back contractors. Tell us a little about, you know, the questions that we need to answer before we can get started, and kind of set the stage for getting us ready to be able to, you know, take some of these leads before we talk.
Well, and so one of the first things that I always start with is your actual brand. So when Emily and I got together, she was the one that was like, I don't even like this. I don't know what to do with it, but I know it needs more personality than this. So we just literally started brainstorming, because from that moment forward, as soon as we started working together, we wanted to be building the brand that she wanted, that she could get behind, that represented more of her personality. And so we went back and forth, like, I was like, what do you think about a mascot? Love it. You know, just very much very decisive. She didn't have to ask 20 people what they thought. It was pretty much like, here's some good looks. What do you think about these colors? What do you think about this? Because before we really got started on strategy, which is all about brand building, we needed to have our brand in place. So we started there. Added Rufus. Rufus is our engagement piece. He is how we are constantly making the community more and more and more aware of Eminem Roofing. The funniest thing, and this is going to happen to all of you, as soon as Emily really hit the ground with launching her new look, all of a sudden roofers that had been dormant, all of a sudden here we are with billboards. And I mean, because if you're not getting kicked in the butt, it means you're not in the front. Right. So she got out in front, and all of a sudden everybody was like, oh, crap, we should probably do something. Right. Because nobody's ever pushed the envelope where we live. And so she came out guns blazing. She wasn't scared. We had a big billboard campaign. We launched, she had radio. We updated radio. And Rufus, I mean, he hit the town. He's in anywhere that she can get him, she is figuring out a way to put him there. And it just really started this solid foundation of Eminem Roofing, like just starting to announce him to people. So it started sticking in their heads. Well, then we talked about, where do we feel like there is opportunity in your market to gather up leads? So we knew that no one had a roofer, right? Like when you talk, so my family's company, we had kind of become the heating and air conditioning people. We'd worked hard at it we're 50 years this year. So we've been doing it a while. I was like, man, just nobody has that this is the roofing company. So we started talking about that. And then she was pretty open, like, this is where I'm doing all these I'm doing this mastermind. I'm getting these coaches and these people, because she wanted to understand how operationally, I mean, Emily, if I'm not mistaken, one of the first things you did was get a CSR situation worked out, right? Who was answering the phones?
And then two, we did not have a CRM in place. And so that was huge for us too, to be able to track the information. So I'll give a little shout out to Proline, because, you know, they, to me, have taken our business also just from an organization, automations, giving you guys information that y'all need to do direct mail campaigns, you know, mail drops, postcards. Y'all wouldn't have that if we were still operating the way the business was when I purchased it. So yes, the CRM, getting someone that can answer the phones and understands 100%. Those were big things to get in place.
Because one of the things I would ask her is, I said, so when your CSR answers the phone, and she was like, wait a minute, let's go back. What is that? And then I would say, well, in your CRM, how are you tracking calls? And she would say, okay, let me work on this. I mean, it was a great understanding of, like, here's what I'm going to need. Tracking numbers, which Emily utilizes CallRail right now, along with an integration into Proline. But we have to be able to see where people are calling from. I'm like, we want to make data-driven decisions, not just gut decisions. And so I needed to understand how she was tracking where the leads were coming from, both new customers and referrals or a second replacement style things. Because she's a rock star at the acquisition side. So she had access to these databases of companies that she had acquired, and just trying to, like, okay, how are we going to mine that data? Like, what do we do with those people? How do we get them in, and how do we remarket to them? So we just needed access and visibility into those things. So I think it did kind of prompt her a little bit even more, because she's already had the CRM on her radar, but I think it kind of prompted her, like, to really see the most. Because listen, to see the most out of what marketing is doing, for those of you that are writing those marketing checks, it's hard to keep writing marketing checks when you're like, man, I don't know that this is working, you know? So that was a big question. Understanding her sales process was also very important, kind of like I mentioned earlier, because, again, coming from the home service industry, if I can't present you options while I'm in the home, and I've got to go back to my office and I've got to write some things up, and then I'm going to try to catch back up with you, you haven't sold me anything, right? You came out to my house to tell me what might happen, but the person that owns the home, that's in the home, owns the home. So get the sale while you're there. So whatever you need to do to be a little bit quicker, whatever that looks like for your company, in providing those. So I wanted to make sure that I was setting clear expectations in our messaging as well. And so we had to get on the same page for that. Lots of those operational style questions that really were important. And then she already had some marketing going. She's pretty savvy. She says she's not good at marketing. She's pretty savvy naturally at things. So, and she's not afraid. I'm telling you, that makes a big difference. When you're not scared to be a little risky, you know, like, let me try some stuff. So she already had radio. The good news about where we live is traditional radio stations actually we don't have much waste. Some of you that are in larger cities, like where the radio airs might go a little bit further than where you service. And so that doesn't make a good customer experience. So you need to do digital radio. But Emily already had that going. She had some local boots on the ground style things going. She joined the Chamber of Commerce. We did a big kickoff at her Lufkin location. I mean, it was a combination of all of these things that we curated specifically based around the fact that she had a mascot, the fact that she had just rebranded, the fact that she was woman owned. I mean, all of those things were a strategy built directly for Eminem Roofing to be successful.
I love that. As opposed to just giving more leads. I don't care. You know, who needs all this? John, what do you think?
Yeah, it's comprehensive. I love somebody else saying the same thing that we try to tell people. It's just so much more complicated, or it can be if you're not ready for it. Understanding why this is super important, and it's not just insert money, outcomes lead. It doesn't work that way. It just doesn't. And in fact,
patience.
A lot of patience. The brand part is really important, and then the marketing of that brand, and understanding the complexity, understanding your own market too. That's a thing that people were talking about. A lot of things about, you know, Eminem Roofing. This may not work for you said radio, it may not work for some people. It does work for other people. There's all kinds of ways that people buy your services. And you need to understand the most efficient and effective ways that is wherever you live. And like you said, using CallRail or other tracking abilities, you got to do that, because otherwise you'll be putting money in the wrong place when you could be putting it over here that's way more effective.
Absolutely. And, one thing that just kind of jumped out at me here is, there's a couple of things that I'll give you some raw numbers. I know people like to walk away from stuff. Odds are when you talk to Lemon Seed, I'm going to tell you what's your revenue goal next year on the residential side. Okay. So Emily and I do separate out her commercial plan versus her residential plan, because those are two different strategies, right? So how she builds those commercial relationships, she actually has a staffing plan for that, with a referral plan for that. Like, she's got a plan there. But on the residential side, what is your revenue that you're hoping to hit that year? And then I'd love to see you somewhere, if you're aggressive, I'd love to see you somewhere at that 10% of that revenue goal in marketing. And that gives us a really good place to start using. It's enough money to make a difference most of the time. And so I'm always going to recommend that your digital side be strong. So if you have limited budget right now, it should all be in a good brand up front and a solid digital footprint. That means a good website with powerful SEO, and at least some of the Google local service ads or some sort of paid ad strategy in there. Then you can layer on other calls to action like direct mail or Facebook ads or things like that. You just need a strong digital footprint pretty much for anything else, because if people go, everybody, even your grandma and grandpa, they at least know how to Google something now, right? So they might not know what to do, but they know, let me look them. That is getting more and more prominent, older and older every single year, like in leaps and bounds. And so just don't underestimate that piece. And it's very basic information, but having a digital partner that understands the search engine optimization parts of roofing is very important. I mean, Emily and I, that was one of the first things we did, is we got with someone to start our SEO processes. And even now we're like, okay, we're ready to transition to a more aggressive digital company, right? Because we got our foundation right. Now we've pinpointed, okay, this is what we want to do. Now we're ready to pivot. Because marketing is not a set it and forget it thing. It's really not. If you're really doing what you're supposed to do, you're pivoting, you're contemplating, you're brainstorming. I mean, we throw out all kinds of ideas, and Emily will tell me no, and I'll tell her no. Like, oh, we're not gonna do that. But if you don't have that kind of dynamic back and forth, then you're really just kind of stagnant. You're just kind of stuck there, because marketing is a live thing. Right? You got to be constantly working it.
Yep.
So, Emily, what kind of results are you getting? You tell us a little about what you're doing specifically and what's happening there.
I think that we definitely got the momentum going on our side. So I actually was working nursing and roofing there for the first 6 months. And so I have retired from nursing. But I think that our company, we're growing to multiple locations. We've got another location opening up. We have an open house coming up in a couple weeks, and we've got another location. We just have to, hopefully by the first of the year. So we're growing. We're trying to service the needs of people. We're trying to identify those areas and grow. Commercially, we're growing. I know we talk about that on the Mastermind all the time. So we kind of have two businesses, if you will, because they are two very different businesses. And I would say, though, marketing in general, just for my business, took us from just a regular residential company around here. I mean, it grew us almost 3 times in the first year. So, and then we've since doubled, and we are not a storm chasing company. I do think that that's changing a lot. So we try to focus heavily on retail, because I think retail is what is going to, if you have a good retail footprint, that's those businesses are going to survive, because I think insurance, there's great money in insurance. We're just not storm chasers. So the growth has not happened because of storms necessarily. People will ask me all the time. But I do think that marketing has been huge for us. So we are going to continue to add fuel to the fire, and we have no plans of letting up anytime soon. I know Dave tells me all the time, maybe to slow down, but I'm crazy, and we're going to keep going. We're not done yet, for sure.
Yeah. You can sleep when you die.
That's right.
There's no sleep. We got to keep pushing.
Love it.
Yeah.
One thing to note, we talk about 5% a lot because the industry talks about 5% a lot. I love that you said 10% because that's generally where I'm at too. Mm-hmm. And so this is another good example of why there's complexity in business. The marketing piece is going to influence the sales piece now, because they're like, well, why do we have to price this high? You have to be transparent as an owner to understand, hey guys, did you see all these leads you have, all these appointments you got? The reason is because we spend money on marketing. And so then they have transparency and understanding the numbers, at least as a general idea of what it costs. We talk about acquisition cost a lot, and it's probably going to be higher than you think. It ain't $200. And people they need to understand as an owner and then relay that message in a really transparent way to the sales people and then to the production as well. Hey, this is a very, very valuable interaction that we have here. It costs a lot of money to acquire this lead. And then what's your close rate? What's the actual acquisition for the customer? It helps give confidence to the sales team because they understand this is why it costs what it costs. Hey, Mr. Homeowner, did you hear us on the radio? Did you see our billboards? Did you see our wrap trucks? All these things. You can tie back to those things. You know that we're a trusted source for this home service. We're going to roof your house correctly because of all these things. That's why we charge X for our services. That's something that I've always been really transparent with our team. Like, why does it cost us much? It's probably because of marketing. Because it costs a lot to get that lead, to acquire the customer. I really like that you're in that 10% zone for what you consider. In the roofing space, I think that's a lot of people. They should be closer to that than the 3-5%.
Yeah, and 5%. Well, so 5% we always say that's maintain, right? That's how we're going to maintain doing those over and over again. Again, and this is a sliding scale too. When you first get started with marketing, going from 0 marketing to 10% marketing is probably going to be a shock. Probably, especially to your accountant. They're gonna be like, well, what are you thinking? Right? It's because they're money people, not marketing people. Mm-hmm. And normally those people are pretty different and they don't live on the same planet. So nope. I spend money for a living. So, and you need those people to hold you accountable. So if anything, just get more aggressive than you are now. So if you've been hovering at like 1 to 2% of your revenue goal, jump to 5 and let that marinate for a little while, get your feet underneath you, see some return, pivot where you need to pivot, and then start juicing up, no pun intended for Living Seed, but just start juicing up things that are working. So if you see some buzz around community events, donate another $250 to that little kid sports team and show up out there and give them Powerade and smile and post it on your social media. Guys, it is golden. It is golden, easy things to do that drive people's natural engagement. They don't feel sold to. They just want to engage with your brand. There is so much power in those things, and so many people are lazy about it. They're like, I just don't want to. Well, I mean, that's it. Then it's going to impact your actual return on whatever spend you have placed there.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. Most of the contractors that we work with, I would say probably 1, 2, 3% of sales for marketing, because so many of them say, oh yeah, we rely on referrals and this and that. This is a different time right now. I mean, it didn't take rocket science before, the past 5 years or so to get leads, to get business, to grow your business. But now things are really slowing down. That pie has shrunk. There's fewer people searching for roofing services. And, when you're saying, my business just isn't growing. We hear this all the time. Oh, we're just stuck, at the same, $2 million level that we've been at for the last 3 years. And we look at the marketing and they're just not spending the money. And I like what you said about maintaining. And we use that 5% a lot. And you're right. If you're going to grow your business, and as you said maintaining, but to grow your business, I mean, Emily, you said your company's going, is 3x on what you've been doing, and that takes money to put gasoline on the fire. And 10%, I think, is right in the where you should be, obviously, and it's working. Love it. So, give us a few things that are working, and maybe what's not, and where you're putting that money, and also the importance of tracking. What's working, what's not, and very few contractors do this.
Is that question for me? I guess.
I'm sorry.
Well, I'll say one thing,
Crystal. This is. We get so many people on this show.
Well, I'll say one thing because we just had this discussion, and this is what I say about the importance of a partnership. So I'm always pushing Emily for, let's do this, let's add this, let's take this away. And she's going to come back and say, this is what keeps me in budget. So literally we were like, okay, mass media. So billboards, radio, community involvement, done. We kill it. She kills it with what we're doing there. But we really know that now we're like, oh, we see a hole over here on the digital side. Or because she listens to influential people like you guys, she's able to come back and say, okay, I'm not hitting what they're hitting, so let's go back. So we know that we're probably going to need to transfer some of our branding money over to our call to action side of business. So we know we need to actively seek out a different paid ad strategy. So what we have right now is a very simplistic approach because we were building our brand. We knew we were in a brand building year. She's also just very aggressive. So we've also brand built and added new locations and new service areas at a rapid pace. But I know that one of the things we need to focus on, and literally we're slap dab in the middle of it right now, is interviewing some other digital partners just to see. Our digital partner now is doing fine, but we want more aggressive side. So I would say that. And then we just put a little pause on direct mail, and we're going to ramp that back up in a couple of months, but with a different strategy. And then I'll let Emily kind of chime in here, but that's like the overreaching piece. But Emily also has an outside social media person that is always posting things on social media, befores and afters, Rufus things, community things. And so she does a really good job of just increasing those followers. But again, that's on the branding side. So call to action side, I know this is the year that we're going to be a lot more aggressive with that. I think I'm right, Emily.
Yes, yes. And I would say that to me, again, I think what has worked is just this has been a brand building year. Just people to know this is what we are. We have a physical location. A lot of roofers don't have a physical location where people can come in, look, feel, touch, see all the materials that are going to go on your roof. That was really important to me, having like a showroom, if you will. And then I do think I have recognized, and I'm real honest with Crystal about the things that I am not good at. I am not good at, the whole social media and the digital parts and pieces. I know we talk about this in the mastermind, get in front of the camera, get those videos out there, get the video content. So we're, again, because that's not my expertise, we're going to hire someone to do that, right? So kind of like John has done, we're going to bring someone in, and that's what we're going to do is really try to build on that side. So we recognized, I do think though, kind of go back to the percentages, as I go into these new markets, that's another thing you have to be really honest about. If you're going to go into a new market, you can't say, okay, well, I'm in this market and this was my spend, and then you're not going to spend any money. So you may back off a little in the area that you feel like you've gotten a good brand awareness. That for me, that's kind of our plan. And then, hey, we're going into a new market. Let's take some extra money and funds or some that we've taken from this market, and we're going to really explode and spend 12% maybe in this area to really try to get a good footprint. So for me, that's what's worked, is really just spending a really good solid year doing brand awareness. And now we can really, dial in to what's working and then kind of grow and really bring in some things that I'm not good at. And I think a lot of people are not very honest with themselves about what they're not good at. And that's, I think, I reach out to Crystal and I'm like, I just can't do this. This is not my thing. So help me figure it out.
I do that with Sam too. Sam's actually texting me right now about stuff. I'm like, I need your help. I don't know. I can't do this right now. You need to show me the way.
Yeah. Well, Emily, you've done a great job. I see, all of us just always, you're out there, and Rufus, I mean, this thing really works. It's pretty amazing. Very impressive. Tell us about Rufus. What is Rufus?
Rufus is our mascot, and he is an armadillo that wears a cowboy hat. We're in Texas, and he has a shell. His shell is made of shingles. So he's just unique, and he's just fluffy, and it's so funny. We go out to community events and there's other mascots there, but I mean, the kids love him. Everyone wants to take a picture with him. We're in a mascot mad dash this weekend, so that'll be funny to see all the local mascots racing each other in a run. So
he was in a dance off.
You have to find a very, very active and eager candidate to get into that mascot. And really, I've not been in it, but the people that get in it say it's very liberating because no one knows who you are. So you can really just, dance and, act crazy. I mean, we have them waving at people on the road. It's just funny. They really just own it. So
yeah. So Emily. Yeah, so Emily has a full build out of her mascot. So Lindenseed actually, and with a local company, built him out very much where he's got different poses and he's got the roofing gun. I mean, he's got all the pieces. But also, like, we really try to bring Rufus to life. Like, she invested in a parade quality costume. I mean, this thing is massive. So this is not a little cheechy costume that you get from somewhere. This is very much a high end. He's got a fan in the head. He's, you take him apart, you can wash him. So, she invested in him, and probably about $5,000 or $6,000 was what he's worth. So Emily and I were like, if we're going to get him, then where is he going to be? He is going to be everywhere, because it's a pretty low investment on the long term look. Because once you get him involved with everything, like she said, he's invited to birthday parties at this point. At this point, you're not begging to take him anywhere. People are begging you to bring him places. Will you be in our parade? Will you be in this mascot dash? Will you do this? Will you do that? And that just goes to show you that she's becoming a household name.
That's awesome. Well, Crystal, tell us how we can get in touch with you and the type
Sure.
of contractors you'd like to work with, and how do we get hold of you?
Yeah. So lemonseedmarketing.com is the easiest way, but hello@lemonseedmarketing.com is our email. You can just say, I heard Crystal on a podcast, and they will make sure that you get to speak with me directly. I love speaking to contractors and just learning their story. Honestly, I can work with anyone that's ready to invest in a solid marketing spend. So if you're maybe just still brand new, you don't have a lot to spend, you just want some advice, I'm going to have a podcast, my own. It's called From the Yellow Chair, anywhere that you listen to podcasts, where I give lots of just advice that's good and you can implement on your own. But if you're ready to go to the next level with a strategy or with your brand mascot creation, I'd love to visit with you and give you a little discount from coming from the podcast.
Hey, there we go. Well, that is fantastic. I really appreciate everybody coming on. Emily, hopefully we'll see you tomorrow with the group, and John, likewise. Crystal, thanks so much for coming on and give us all this great advice. I love it, and write down the same thinking that we have in our group. So,
well, thank y'all so much. It's an honor. I am loving these roofers that I'm meeting lately, and so I'm here for the aggressive ones. Let's go.
Sounds good. Thanks, Emily. Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon. Thank you.